Would you ever pick your style off a salon wall? Not in a million years. Inspired by all who challenge the same old thing comes Gain Icy Fresh Fizz and other scents that are, like you, anything but ordinary.
Well, Donald Trump isn't a Republican candidate, so he's opting for another role in the campaign debate moderator. Mr. Trump joins me now by phone. Sir, I'm sorry we didn't get to interact this morning, but let me let you respond to those poll numbers, which I think that you wanted to respond to, that says your endorsement in the Republican primary, more Republicans in Iowa and New Hampshire both say they would make them less likely to support that candidate. Your response.
All right, let me just first start by saying that I was watching the show for about 2 minutes, and you said Donald Trump wanted to respond to a poll. Well, I didn't even know what poll you're talking about, number one, Chuck. Number two, I didn't call you. You called me about 40 times trying to get me on the show.
Yeah.
I didn't call you. So your statement is false. I mean, you said, quote, I quote, Donald Trump wanted to respond to a poll. Well, I didn't want to respond. Your people called my office about 40 times asking me to go onto the show. So it's dishonest what you're saying, Chuck. I wish you would just sort of say it like it is and just, I think you'd really do better, honestly. I actually think you'd get better ratings, if you did that. But so I did not, is it a correct statement that I did not call you, you called me?
We called you.
Okay,
you
good,
clearly
but you didn't say that, though,
your
Chuck.
folks wanted to respond to the poll, is what I understood.
I'll respond to it. I'll respond to it. But at the beginning of the program, you didn't say that. You said Donald Trump wanted to respond. I didn't want to respond. I'm doing NBC a favor by going onto your show, number one. Number two, it depends on how the question's asked, because I know about polls. I know a lot about polls. I studied polls at the Wharton School of Finance. And you can ask a question. You mean to tell me somebody's going to be worse off if I endorse them? I don't think so, because I have a huge following of people that are tired of seeing our country ripped off by China and OPEC and virtually every other nation. And I don't really think that you believe that somebody's worse off if I give them, because I have a big following of people, because they're just tired of seeing what's going on with this country.
Well,
So,
I'm just reporting those numbers.
I wish you would just be straight, Chuck, because honestly, I think you'd do a lot better if you were straight.
Well, I'm not interested in debating you. I want to ask you about your debate.
Well, that's fine, but you got to tell the truth, Chuck.
Let me ask you about your
Chuck,
debate.
You have to tell the truth. Go ahead.
Mr. Trump, I would like to ask you about your debate. You have one confirmed attendee right now, and that is former Speaker Newt Gingrich.
Well, we just announced it a day and a half ago.
Right, I understand
it hasn't been out there for 2 months. We announced it a day and a half ago. People are busy. But I think most of the important candidates will come. Huntsman has 1% of the vote. I don't think he's coming. And by the way, Mr. Huntsman called my office a number of times trying to set up a meeting. I didn't have a meeting with him. And then he went on a debate, and he said, I didn't meet with Mr. Trump like everybody else in the room. So, I'm sure he'll tell the truth about that because he's a Mormon.
But let me ask you about the fact that you've got Karl Rove. This is what he said this morning before your appearance this morning on Fox. He said,
no, after my appearance.
He was on, it was my understanding he was on before.
Just get the facts straight. He was on after my appearance, not before my appearance.
Here's what he said.
It doesn't help the country. I mean, if you're going to be a candidate, be a candidate. Don't make it contingent upon whether or not your show is renewed or not. If your show is not renewed, you're going to run for president. How trivial is that? How does it trivialize the most important decision that we Americans have, which is who we're going to elect as our president?
And he also said he would
let me respond to that. First of all, my show would be renewed anytime I wanted. NBC is dying to renew me again. I don't need to be doing this to get my show. I have one of the highest ratings. It's the #1 show in the 10 o'clock hour. And NBC is dying to renew me, so I don't need this. So he made that up, as he made many things up. Look, Karl Rove gave us George Bush. And George Bush crashed and burned. And because of that, we have Obama. And Karl Rove, the problem that that the Republicans, they have to get rid of the Karl Roves, and they need fresh blood, because Karl Rove is going to lead them into doom. Believe me.
Well, he would like the RNC to step in, the RNC chairman to step in to stop this debate. Are you going to call the RNC and ask them to sanction it?
Right. And the RNC was very positive. Reince Priebus was very nice. In fact, they had a big fundraiser at my golf club this year in Washington. Yeah. A big, big fundraiser. One of the most successful, I think the most successful they've ever had. And you said that he made negative statements about the debate. He didn't say that at all. He said
no, I did
very
not say
nicely,
that. If we're going to have a factual contest here, I said he distanced himself. He appeared to distance himself from the idea.
He said that's up to the candidates whether or not they go in the debate. That has nothing to do with us, but he didn't make any negative statement. He just said it's up to the candidates. And
right,
any
and
debate
I didn't say it was negative. I said distance. Let me ask you this. You say you want to bring up some issues. I agree with you about issues like OPEC, some of these international things, but I think there are some campaigns, and I've talked to them about this, that are concerned you're going to use this to push, for instance, your obsession about the president's birth certificate. Are you going to do that at this debate?
I'm not. No.
You're going to keep it out of the debate.
The most important issue is jobs. Whether or not he was born here, to me it means something, but I guess it doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people. But to me it happens to mean something. The fact that they can't find any records in the hospital that his mother was ever in the hospital, that to me means something, but a lot of people don't care. So my big issue is jobs. My big issue is the country is falling way, way behind. My big issue is that every country that does business with the United States makes a fortune. I mean, China's going to make $350 billion on us this year. Colombia, a small trading partner, is going to make $4 billion this year, Chuck. And you know what? When they talk about Social Security and Medicare and all the things that they want to cut back, if this country ran right, they wouldn't have to cut them back.
Is it a simple calculation? If the candidate you would decide to endorse in the Republican primary is not the nominee, you probably run as an independent?
No, not probably. It may be a decent candidate. I'm not saying that it has to be that particular candidate. At some point, I'm going to endorse a candidate. And if that candidate doesn't win and somebody else that I think is good does, I wouldn't do it. I love what I'm doing. I'm having a great time in the real estate. I'm doing well. You can see by my statement I've done very nicely, okay? Very few people in this country, believe me, have a statement like that with low debt and tremendous cash. Very, very few. And I'm very proud of it. And I love what I do. So, I really would like to see a great candidate get in there and do a good job. But if we have the wrong candidate, I love this country, and I want to see this country turned around, Chuck.
All right. Donald Trump, I will leave it there. We called you to come on to respond.
Thank you.
That is a fact, and with my understanding, you did want to respond to our poll numbers, which you didn't get a chance to.
But that's okay. Look, at least you called me, and I appreciate you saying that.
Mr. Trump, always a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Chuck.